Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Today we are learning the ninth Perek of Yevamos. We're almost done. We'll be wrapping up with Yevamos next week and starting Subas on Yisach itself. Today's shir is Lila Nishmas Ruspa Simcha Kohen Arachma Simcha Kohen Rishomar Chamesh Steps Labrachas Sal Maleb and B'Yam Moshe Ben Yosef made Neshtamos to have an Aliyah and Refuah Shlev Yisrael Ben Rachel Leah Rachel Bas Pesach Zelda Arum Yitzchak Ben Risha Chaya Bas Bela Refuah Shlema B'Sach Shachal Yisrael and special Mazel Tov to the Yelad Harachanimel Zachariah Yisrael Ben Yaakov Eliyahu, who had his bris yesterday. Maybe Zocher to Kashif Sechas the bris Kenny Kanas the Torah or Chupla Masim Tov and Amar Amen. Amen. Very nice. He should give a lot of nachas to his Gaza Mishpach and the Klal Yisrael. Today's shir is sponsored by our Seder Nashim is sponsored by our friends at Imperial Advisory Group. They are an award-winning CFO advisory firm that can help businesses go beyond the bookkeeping and accounting with strategic financial leadership. And to learn more about them, visit their website at www.imperialgrp.com. Okay, here we go. Perek Tes Mishnah Aleph. Okay. The first two Mishnahs are going to talk about the forbidden marriages and explain how laws of Yibum and Chalitza are affected by them. Yeah. So Yesh Mutaros of Aleim Asuros Living Mayhem. There are four sets of relationships. There are some women who are permitted to their husbands, but they are forbidden to their Yevamos, meaning their husband's brother, who may therefore not perform Yibum with them after the husband's death. That's category one. There are some who are permitted to their Yavams, even though they were forbidden to their husbands. That's category two. And some who are permitted to both their husbands and their Yavams. That's category three. And some who are forbidden to both their husbands and to the Yavams. That's category four. So let's go through each of these categories. Category one. These women are permitted to their husbands, but are forbidden to their Yavams. So what's that category? Kohen Hedjot Shenasa as Halmana. An ordinary Kohen who married a widow, who is permitted to him, because a Kohen Hedjot can marry a widow. And his brother is a Kohen Gadol. See, the Kohen Gadol cannot marry a widow, and therefore not perform Yibum with her after his brother's death. Did you ever wonder why a Kohen Gadol cannot marry a widow? I think this is brought out somewhere. I forget where. So Kohen Hedjot can marry a widow, but Kohen Gadol cannot. Why can he not marry a widow? It was brought down that since the Kohen Gadol is able to use the Shem HaMeforish, and he can go into the Kohen to the Kachi Kachim and say the Shem HaMeforish that they does in Yom Kippur and have the intention for a man to die, then the Torah asks him from marrying a widow because it could be fathomable that he'd be able to cause this husband's death just by uttering the Shem Hashem. And Hashem said, no, we're not having a situation. You cannot marry an almana, so don't even come to that situation. I forget where I saw that. I saw that somewhere, but a point to ponder. Chalal shenasa kashera, going back to the Mishnah, or a chalal who marries an eligible woman. So chalal is again the offspring, the child, the son of a Kohen who married a Grusha or Chalutza, and therefore the offspring lost the Kedusha. So the offspring lost the Kedusha's Kohen because his father married someone who was not supposed to marry. Yeshlo ach kosher, and he has a brother who is an eligible Kohen. I guess the brother was from a different mother, who is now ushered to marry this woman since she was married to a chalal, and he cannot perform even with her after his brother's death. Yisrael shenas lebas Yisrael, or a Yisrael who marries the daughter of Yisrael, yeshlo ach mamzer, and he has a brother who's a mamzer, who is usher to marry a legitimate Jewish woman, and therefore may not perform yibum with her after his brother's death. Mamzer shenas mamzeres, or a mamzer who married a mamzeres who is permitted to him because the mamzer can marry a mamzeres. Yeshlo ach Yisrael, and he has a brother who is a legitimate Yisrael who is ushered to marry a mamzeres. Mutaras the valet of Asuris Vivimehem. All these women are permitted to their husbands, but they're forbidden to their Yevamos. That was category A. Category B. This is Mishnah Beis. These women are permitted to the Yevamos, even though they were forbidden to their husbands. So what's the example of that? Kohen Kadosh Kiddush Esalmana. A Kohen Gadol who was engaged to a widow who was also to him. So Kohen Gadol, the Kohen Hedjud, and he has a brother who is an ordinary Kohen who can marry a widow, and therefore he can perform Yibum with her after the Kohen Gadol died and his wife went free. Kasher Shenasa Chalala, or an eligible Kohen who married a Chalala who's also to him. But his brother is also a Chalal. So the brother has to do Yibum, and he can marry a Chalal, and therefore that's okay. Yisrael Shenafsa Mamzeres, or a Yisrael who married a Mamzeres who's also to him. Yeshlo Ach Mamzer, but he has a brother who's a Mamzer, so he can marry a Mamzeres, so therefore he can do Yibum with her. Mamzer Shenafsa Bas Yisrael, or a Mamzer who married the daughter of Yisrael, right, who's also to him. Yeshlo Ach Yisrael, but he has a brother who's a legitimate Yisrael, who's not a Mamzer, so he can marry her, and he can do Yibum. In all these cases, the women are mutter to the Yevams, even though they were usher to the husband. So the Mishnah Beis is like the exact opposite of like the cases in Mishnah Aleph. So continuing with the third set, Asuras the Elu Ve'elu. So who are these women are permitted? They are usher both to be married to the husbands and usher to perform Yibum with the Yevams after the husband's death. So what's that? So Kohen Gadol Shalas Amana. We spoke about that before. That a Kohen Gadol who married a widow, that's a problem. Yesh though Ach Kohen Gadol or Kohen Heder, and he has a brother who's either a Kohen Gadol or an ordinary Kohen. Both who are forbidden to her once her first husband had be with her. Therefore, they cannot do Yibum with her at all. Okay. So in Mishnah Beis, we talked about the Kohen Gadol who gave Erison to a widow. If he only gave her Erison, then the brother who was a Kohen Hedjot, he can marry her in Yibum. But over here, if a Kohen Gadol actually married the Amana and had be with her, then his brother who's a Kohen Gadol or another brother who's a Kohen Hedjot cannot marry this Amana because he already had be with her, and therefore she is usher to real Kohen as a Chalala. Okay, that's the difference between they're both in Mishnah Beis. One's a category 2, one's a category 3. Kasher Senasa Chalala, or an eligible Kohen who married a Chalala Yishlo Ach Kasher, and he has a brother who is also an eligible Kohen, so that he too is usher as to a Chalala. Yisrael Shenasa Mamzeres, or a real Yisrael who married a Mamzeres who is forbidden to him, Yeshlo Ach Yisrael, and he has a brother who's also a Yisrael, so he's also usher to her. Mamzer Shenasa Bas Yisrael, or a Mamzer who married the daughter of Yisrael who is usher to him, Yeshlo Ach Mamzer, and he has a brother who's also a Mamzer, so that he too is usher to a regular Jewish woman. Asuras the Elu Elu. In all these cases, the women are usher to their husbands and to the Yevams, and there's no way to fix that. And the fourth set, Ushar kol hanashim mutaras v'aleim livmeim. And all the women who are not mentioned in these two Mishnayos, in the other three categories, they are mutter to the husbands and to the Yevamos, which is like rove of the world, not the extreme cases. Okay. Mishnah Gimel. Shniyas Medivrei Sofrim regarding secondary harayas who are ushered by Dinder Baran. You had the 15 harayas that are in Achrimos, those are the Doraisa. But then the Chum came along and they asked relationships with certain relatives who were less closely related than the ones in Achrimos. For example, a person's mother is Asher Torah. But the Chum added on his grandmother and his great grandmother. Those are known as Shnias, those are secondary harayas. They're not a Dinder, it's not a Dinder Raisa, it's a Dinder Banan. And we discussed this last week for the complete list in Perek Beit, so we started this. So Shnias Medivrei regarding the secondary harayas who are ushered by a Dinder Banan, Shnia the Baal below Shnia Yavam. If a woman is secondary era to the husband, but not to the Yavam, Ashura the Baal, Umateras the Yavam. So she is usher to the husband, but permitted to the Yavam. Even though the first marriage was usher Derabanan, it was binding, and and so she can be taken, and even though the marriage was wrong. Shniya the Yavam, Allah Shniya the Baal. If a woman is the secondary heir to the Yavam and not to the husband, Asur the Yavam umataras the Baal. Then she is usher to the Yavam, but mutter to the husband. Although on the Torah law, she is a full-fledged Yevama, the Chachamim asked the Yavam to perform Yibum with her. Instead, they have to do Chalitza, as we learned earlier. If a woman is a secondary heir to both the husband and to the Yavam, and she's usher to both of them. She may not marry either brother. If she did marry one of them and he dies without children, she may not be taken and even by the other brother. But they have to do chalitza. Look, Suba, if the secondary heir does not receive the payment of the ksuba, not from her husband, nor does she receive the payment for the produce of her property that her husband has used. That she does not get. Nor does she receive any food from her husband. Right? She loses all those rights. Nor does she receive payment for the loss of value of her worn out property. Right? If she brought garments into the marriage as nifs malug, and the husband used them until they became worn out, that he's not obligated to pay her for the lost value when the marriage ends. However, those worn out garments, those are returned to her, and that's hers. Now, Vlad Kasha. However, even though the marriage was usher, the secondary heir's children are legitimate and they are not mamzerim. The kofin also the hotzi, and we forced the husband to divorce her. Okay, next case. Amana the Kohen Gadol, a widow married to a Kohen Gadol, Grushim Chalutza the Kohen Hedjed, a divorcee or Chalutza married to an ordinary Kohen, Mamzeres in the Sina Israel, or a Mamzeres or Nasina that were married to a legitimate Israel, Basi, so a Nasa the Mamzer, or a daughter of Israel who's married to a Nasa the Mamzer, even though all these marriages are also their Raisa. Yeshem Ksuba, each of these women receive her Ksuba as well as other benefits mentioned above. Since these women are also deraisa, the Chachamim were not concerned that people might start violating these marriage these isurim, because people are usually more machmir when it comes to deraisas. A secondary erva is usher only derabanan, and since people do not treat the 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 din the derabanan laws as chumrah as they should, therefore they put on extra isurim to penalize women who violated it. This is common in a lot of derabbanans. Okay, Mishnah Dalit. Bas Yisrael Mu'ares as the Kohen. If a Bas Yisrael was engaged to a Kohen, was married to a Kohen, but they did not complete their marriage yet with Nisuin, Mu'ares the Kohen, or if she is pregnant from her husband who's a Kohen and he died or divorced her and she has no other children from him, Shomeres Yavam Kohen, or if her husband died without children, she is awaiting even by his brother who's a Kohen. Ubas Kohen, v'chein Bas Kohen Yisrael. And similarly, if the daughter of a Kohen is engaged to a Yisrael, or is pregnant by Yisrael, or is waiting even by Yisrael, lo socha b'tshuma. In all these cases, she may not eat truma because neither erison to a Kohen nor pregnancy by a Kohen, nor a Yevamos a Kohen can entitle a woman who is a non-Kohen to eat truma. On the other hand, if she's engaged to a Yisrael or pregnant by Yisrael or attached to a Yavam who is Yisrael, that's enough to disqualify her from eating truma. She doesn't get it on the upside, and she doesn't get it on the downside. Bas Yisrael Mereses the Levi. If the daughter of Yisrael is betrothed to a Levi, but they did not complete their marriage with Nisuin yet, Muberes Levi, or she's pregnant from her husband who's a Levi and he died or divorced her and has no other children from him. Shomeres Yavam Levi, or if her husband died without children and she is awaiting Yibum by his brother who's a Levi. Similarly, if the daughter of a Levi is engaged to Yisrael, is pregnant by Yisrael, or is awaiting even by Yisrael, lo sacha the meiser. The meiser, talking about Levi over here. In all these cases, she may not eat meiser rishon because it cannot be eaten by a non-Levi. Just as the same rules be applied to the Kohen apply over here as well. She doesn't get on the upside, doesn't get it on the downside either. Next case, Bas Levi versus the Kohen. If the daughter of a Levi is engaged to a Kohen, okay, Mu'beres Kohen, if she's pregnant by a Kohen, Shemas Yavam the Kohen, or is awaiting even by a Kohen, V'chein Bas Kohen Levi, and similarly, the daughter of a Kohen is engaged to or pregnant by or waiting even by Levi, lo socha lo b'tshuma lo b'ma'aser. She may not eat neither truma or ma'aser directly from the threshing floor, because now she gets whammed on both sides. She doesn't get the benefits of the Kohen, and she doesn't get the benefits of the Levi. Yeah, so that's a problem. She's a limbo. Mishnah Hey, Bas Yisrael Shanisas the Kohen. The daughter of Yisrael who marries a Kohen, Talcha B'Truma, she may eat Truma because the wife of Kohen is also entitled to eat Truma. May Sulahim Ben, if the Kohen dies, but she has a son from him, Talcha B'Truma, she may continue to eat Truma on account of her son. Nises Levi, if she marries a Levi, Talcha B'Meiser, she can eat Meiser but not Truma, because once she marries a non-Kohen, she becomes disqualified from eating Truma. Meis Falahim and Ben. If the Levi dies and she has a son from him as well, Tachal Meiser, she may continue to eat Meiser on account of her son, but she may not eat Truma because her son from Levi, because her son from the Levi as a non-Kohen disqualifies her from eating Truma. Nises Yisrael, she then marries Yisrael, who may eat neither Truma nor Meiser, lo Sachal lo Truma lo Meiser. She may not eat Truma or Meiser. Mace, Ben, if the Yisrael dies, but she has a son from him, her status remains the same. Lo Socha, lo B'Truma, lo B'Meiser. She may not eat Truma or Meiser because her son from the Yisrael disqualifies her from eating both Truma and Meiser. Mace, Ben Am Yisrael, If her son from the Yisrael dies, Tocha b'Maiser, she may once again eat Maiser on account of her son from the Levi, but she may still not eat Truma. May spend on Levi. If later her son from the Levi dies, Tocha b'Truma, she may once again eat Truma on account of her son from the Kohen. May spend on the Kohen. If her son from the Kohen dies, Lo Socha Lo B'Truma Lo Maiser, she may not eat Truma or Maiser for now. She has no husband and no connection to a husband through a child. She therefore returns to being simply a Yisrael's daughter who is usher to eat both Truma and Meiser. And finally, Mishnah Vav, Bas Kohen. Shani says to the Yisrael, if the daughter of a Kohen who is entitled to eat Truma marries Yisrael who may not eat Truma, Lo Slocha Truma, she may no longer eat Truma, since the wife of a non-Kohen may not eat Truma, even though her father is a Kohen. Mace love him at a bang. If the Yisrael dies, but she has a son from him, Lo Slocha Truma, she may still not eat Truma because her son from the non-Kohen disqualifies her from eating Truma. Ni says a Levi, if she then marries a Levi, Tachal and Meiser, she may eat Meiser, but not Truma, since she acquires the status of a husband who may eat Truma, who may eat Meiser, but not Truma. Mace, Bela, Ben, if the Levi dies, but she has a son from him, Tachal and Meiser, she can continue to eat Meiser on account of that son. Ni says the Kohen, if she then marries a Kohen who's entitled to eat Truma, she may once again eat Truma as she previously did before she married Israel. If the Kohen dies, but she has a son from him, she may continue to eat Truma on account of that son. So if her son from the Kohen dies, she returns to her previous state before she married the Kohen and may no longer eat Truma, but she may continue to eat Meiser and count that her son from the Levi. If her son from the Levi dies, she returns to her previous status before she married the Levi. She may no longer eat Meiser either. Israel. If still later her son from Israel dies, she returns to her father's house. She returns to her original status as an unmarried daughter of a Kohen who is now entitled to eat Truma. Regarding this woman, it says in the Torah in I think it's in Amor, V'shava al beis Aviya ben Arel, kinurel ilechem Aviya sochel. If a Kohen's daughter should become a widow or divorcee from a non-Kohen, and does not have offspring from him, she shall return to her father's house as in her youth. She may eat the bread, the truma of her father. That's in this person Emma. Wow, what a Perek. Unbelievable. Okay, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for Perek. Good. Have a wonderful day.